Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears.
Hello, beautiful people. It is your host Q, live and direct from the Psyche Lab Studio, New Delhi. Welcome to the Groundbreakin, where we sit down with creatives, design, and business pioneers to discuss their journeys, process, and approach. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, consider subscribing. Also, check out our website. We are working on a newsletter and a slowly growing design community on Discord, where we have weekly design live session every Saturday where we learn something new. If you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us ratings. It helps us to reach to bigger audience, and also because we are doing one episode a week and excited about the future. As always, we value the feedback of our listeners, so please reach out to us with any comments or questions you may have. You can also shoot me a mail mentioned in the podcast description. For this episode, we have the amazing Clim from the Clim Studio. Starting his creative path as an independent designer, he has since transformed his passion for design into a successful design studio. Clim Studio has become known for their innovative approach to design and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the industry. In this episode, we'll be diving deep into his journey and how he's been able to stay ahead of the curve with his unique blend of creativity and business acumen. Whether you're a designer, entrepreneur, or simply interested in the latest trends in the design world, this is one episode you won't want to miss. Hey, hi Clem, how's it going with you?
Hi, nice to meet you. It's great, thank you.
How's your day like? What time is it?
Now is 3 p.m. It's a very clear sky, very nice day here in Barcelona. So that's great.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I hope you're having a good time, and let's talk about what you've been up to. Are you at your studio or at your home?
Now I'm at home, as you can see.
Yeah.
I have the studio in Poplano, which is like the creative borough in Barcelona. But because it's, a busy place with other people talking and having calls and stuff, I prefer to do this at home so we can be quiet and tranquil.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Clem, let's just take a deep dive, in your career and talk about your journey and things that you've been doing. So, I definitely love what you're doing with Clem. I've been following your work closely for years now. So it has always been, it's first of all, it's an honor to have you around. Thanks a lot for coming on the podcast. You born and brought up in Barcelona, or are you from Barcelona?
I am from just like a city next to it, like 20 minutes by train. It's called Sabadell. And the first time that I moved out from my parents' place was to actually go to the UK in Liverpool, and then London, and then Barcelona. So it's been, I think, almost 10 years that I am here now.
Wow. And so you started your career with studying design, or
Yeah, exactly.
No?
I studied graphic design in my young ages when I was 18. The career lasts 2 years and a half or 3, I remember. And then I jumped straight away to do internships, a lot of internships in different places. One internship lasted like a year, so it was like a painful internship. But then I started to be, freelancer and setting up a studio with a teacher. So I can explain you everything.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I was really curious to know how did that collaboration happen with your teacher at university?
Yeah, Karina Garrido is her name. She was my favorite teacher, was my mentor and tutor for the final project of my career. And then after me being, like having different internships in graphic design and going to, actually I was working in another graphic design studio, they didn't want to raise my salary. So I decided to leave. And she approached me and say, Clim, I have, she had already a graphic design studio. And she approached me and proposed me to join forces and to start a studio with her. For me was, you know, mind blowing because, when you are young, you have your teachers, like, you look up your teachers with so admiration. And for me, it was like an honor to actually have this opportunity. I was very young at that time. I was like 22, I think. And it gave me the opportunity to actually learn how to run a studio, right? How to approach clients, how to have actually interns and people to collaborate with, and talking directly to the clients, doing budgets and schedules, and all these things that they don't teach you at the uni. And it was an amazing experience. We were working together for 3-4 years, I would say. And in the middle of it, I studied the motion graphics master degrees. At that time, it was very, very new. And, graphic moving was like, whoa, what's that? So I wanted to be part of it. So I studied 1 year, the motion graphics master degrees in Barcelona. Meanwhile, I was at the same time working in Fecunda Studio, we called it. And yeah, that allowed me to actually offer a little bit more than my actual, Karina Garrida couldn't offer that. So I started to do little things with motion, but not much because, I wasn't actually an animator yet. So yeah, that was a very nice moment in life.
When you're 22 and you find like a mentor who who reach out to you to start a new organization, that's I think being a creative, if someone shows value, you go all out with them. At least in my case, right? Because it's what I think design, creativity and design is all about, being that having that empathy around that whole space where you can build trust. I'm sure it must be. I mean, it sounds great that she. I mean, you were reaching out to clients, and you were kind of, you had some space where to make some decisions. Do you think that was the that also kind of helped you to start your own thing later in the career, or this was your plan since the beginning?
No, definitely. Like, I always wanted to be independent. That's for sure. When I was working at different graphic design studios, and later on in London, that I was working in an advertising agency, I realized that working for others is just not my thing. um, and I always wanted to be independent and to build my own, be my own boss, basically. And I started doing this since a very young age, which, you get used to it. And then it's difficult to actually, have a boss if it's not a client or, a partner or part of the team. But definitely help me of being very organized, being like almost like a teacher for your clients. I think we have the duty to actually explain the reason why we do things to our clients. Because if not your work, it's about, very like, I like it or I don't like it. If it's just pretty, right? Everyone will be able to turn it down somehow. So I think it's very important. And I learned that with Karina Garrido, to actually explain why you are doing things and the decisions that you are taking when you are actually doing a creative project. So yeah, definitely that helped a lot.
And what do you think, maybe I mean, why what do you think happened that you decide to reach out for another projects?
Well, it's you mean like looking for other adventures?
Yeah.
Well, it was at that time when I was working in Fecunda. I needed to see the world, right? I came out of the closet. So in my, my family, my friends, they're everything, no problems about it. But I needed to see the world and being alone in another country. So I decided to move to UK. It was having actually Fecunda and, setting up my own studio with Karina. It was very helpful because that helped me to actually keep some clients with me and being able to work remote in or from the UK already. And that lasts like 1 year. I was studying English. I couldn't speak a word, so it was very difficult to be there. So the first year was kind of complicated, but then I moved to London. And even though I knew that I wanted to be independent and set up my own thing, in London to me seemed impossible. Like, no, that's not going to happen. And I actually approached, I started to work in an advertising agency for a few months and then with a very family owned graphic design studio. But then one of my colleagues in the motion graphics master degrees that I did in Barcelona was also living in London. So we became flatmates, and that was Sebastian Baptista. And then we did, an animation just for the fun of it, and it became viral. And suddenly, like, clients started to, reach out and ask for more things. And that was the opportunity for us to actually start something. So that was the second studio that I built.
So you said you was from the same college, and how did that viral project came into the world? Do you think? And before that, I mean, I can see that you worked at Beam Design. I think they have pretty good stuff. I think, right? Was it Beam Studio?
Beam Studio, yeah. Yeah. It's a very small graphic design studio. They work for mostly the city council of London and Angel. I think it was the borough that they were at. And yeah, lovely studio. Although like small but in comparison with the agency that I was working at, Vol 7, I really preferred the small family owned graphic design studio. I think that gives you more possibilities of growth and experimentation and learning from the basis of of the business. An advertising agency, obviously, when like I was there, I was an expat, my English wasn't that good, so they kind of like look at you like in a different way. And I knew that for me it would be very, very difficult to grow there. But
yeah, would love to definitely check out what you've created with Sebastian. I tried to look up on the internet. I wasn't able to find it. We definitely share it here.
I'll send it to you.
So I mean, so did that specific viral project got you like a lot of clients?
It was the beginning of everything. It started with me actually being not in London before, in Liverpool. I was into lettering and type poster kind of illustrations, and I did this illustration, Make It Better. And the process of making that illustration was, to me, was very interesting. It was the typical cascade of evolution of graphics when you are designing, right? That you're going, depending on how you design, but I used to go very like down, like in the diagonal. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Like I started, looking at typographies, altering it, changing it, adding colors, different shapes, different compositions. And the result to me felt, beautiful, but it didn't make any sense without seeing the whole process. And I said to Sebastian at that time, he was in Barcelona. So like, hey, I would like to animate that. And he was like, Clim, you are not an animator. It's going to take you ages to do that well. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. And I just posted on my website as a picture. That's it. And later on, after 1 year, 1 year and a half, when we both were living together in London, I was moving to Barcelona just for Christmas time. And he is from Uruguay, so he wasn't, visiting family too far. And he decided to actually animate the process of make it better. And it turned out a beautiful animation. And then we posted, and at the time Vimeo was, a thing. So we posted there and started to become viral. People reposting it. Actually, one guy grabbed it and uploaded on YouTube, and now has like, I don't know, 500,000, or I don't know, I lost track of it, but has like a lot of views. So combined, I think it was like 2 million views. And yeah, a lot of people started to approach us, mostly like represent.
But did they credit you for the work?
I
Of course.
This guy, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But was your studio like mentioned in the video they shared?
Not sure. Although it was in the credits, the actual video, at the end. So that's okay. But
Yeah.
he's probably monetizing that. That's for sure.
Of course, 2 million views are a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
But a lot of people, like some clients approach directly to us, but also production companies that they were willing to represent us. So that way we started to be represented by Eddie, which is a production company in France, in Paris. And then Hornet in New York also approached us. So that was kind of like, it opened us the doors to motion graphics and all this industry, which, was lovely.
well, definitely sounds interesting. I think when something like this happens, it also elevates you as a creative, that okay, something is working out there, we
Definitely.
So and do you think you traveling to different places influenced you in terms of the kind of work you create now? I mean, in terms of the culture you're working around.
For sure. Like, well, all my career, I think, has been led by a lot of personal projects that I did. So it's not about, maybe not about the places or cities that I lived in, but the experiences that you have, right? That pushes you to actually create personal work. Obviously, the professional client inquiries are important and gives you, let's call it status or credibility in the industry. But the personal work, I think what moves people a little bit more. It's not as commercial as the other projects. And that definitely had an impact. The people that I met, the experiences that I had, the places that I've been to. And if I can think about a way that the places impacted me, I think it was more about how to produce and how to direct. I remember that when I was living for a while in New York, I worked with Hornet for Facebook. And we were doing, a project that was kind of like a big one. We were doing 10 mixed media animations for their like in-app gallery, how to use Facebook, basically. And that was the first project that I directed, because when I was with Sebas and Clim, I wasn't actually directing, I was the creative director, art director, designer, and Sebas was creative director and animator. So we were called director duo, but we were not actually directing no one. And when I started my solo career and I'm to New York, I found myself directing a team of 20 people. So that was like, oh, okay. I remember the day of the shoot day. It was like not one day. It was like 15 days, which is like a huge period to actually be shooting. It was exhausting. And the first day, I was so nervous. And Kathy, the producer, Kathy Kwan at Hornet, I asked her like, do I have to say action and cut? And she was like, yeah, of course, you're the director. It's like, oh my God. It felt like, so like, oh my God, suddenly I'm feeling like I'm directing like a TV ad, right? So that was very cool. And then from her, from Gathikwan, I learned so many things. She's an amazing producer, and she it's not that she taught me expressly, but being with her, I learned about how to deal with clients, how to like manage production, how to organize a project, how to talk to people, how important it is to actually have creative calls and daily calls with your team, and things like this that also that they don't that they are not explained when you are studying. So that was brilliant. That was
Yeah, I mean, you make it sound easy though. I mean, even when you mentioned that it was exhausting, because you eventually did it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, how was it for you? Now suddenly you were trying to work around a number of people and even directing. I mean, how was it for you? What was your approach? That okay, I can do this. I mean, because a lot of time we look for validation that yeah, I'm just a motion designer. I don't think if I can do this. I mean, I'm sure you had something going in your head that you were doing it on
Well,
point.
I was so nervous, as I mentioned, but I was like, look, this is a team project, right? This is a teamwork. Without the team, you can do absolutely nothing. So people needs you, you need people, and together we are working for the best of the project and to give to the client the best we can do. So I think that once you understand that you are part of the team, you are just one more, you just gonna be the one that takes the creative decisions. And like at some point, obviously, I have to say that always I've been like a picky person about design, right? Like if I don't like a composition, if I don't like a color, if I don't have, I don't like a shape or whatever, I just say it in a way that is okay. Like you have to approach people in a very humble way and giving reasons why you think this should be different or this should be done in a way and not the other. But obviously there, when I was doing that project during the shoot, I was completely inexperienced. And I said that to people. So like, look, what is this? What is that? What are you doing? What is this for? Like you ask and ask, and you don't mind. Like you are the director there. And you have to be good at what you have to do, which is, I think, being like the director of an orchestra, right?
Yeah.
You are nothing without the team that is playing, the musicians that are playing their instruments. If they don't play, it's just gonna be like la la la. That's not, it's not gonna happen. So you have to be humble, respectful, and giving very specific directions to people. I think that you need to learn how to say things in a way that is approachable, but also strong and concise, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think that's an art in itself. That's the art of creative leadership. Right? You have to give space for to all, and make a system where creativity can thrive. Especially if you are doing like a some if you are making something fresh. I Clim, you mentioned that even way before when COVID hit, you were working in a remote surroundings.
yeah.
And I think in our last call also you mentioned that a lot of stuff you're doing is remote. How do you think that shift from maybe when you were working remotely a decade ago and now, and do you think that an agency or a design studio can thrive working remotely?
Definitely. Obviously, the difference between now and then is that then remote meant emails and Skype calls, right? And maybe one Skype call every 3 days or something. It wasn't like now that you are having calls constantly and not just emails, but Slack and Miro and, other ways to collaborate with all the team being connected together all the time. So that's a completely different game right now. At that time in Liverpool, for example, when I was working for my remote for my clients, I was just like emailing the work, right? So it wasn't like it was me with my laptop designing, then emailing. That's it. It was easy. It wasn't like big projects as I am doing now. And now, actually, all my team is remote. Everyone is remote and in different countries, and even sometimes like different time zones, different time zones. So I think it's great and doable. There is no anything wrong that can happen doing that. But definitely sometimes I miss a little bit of the human contact, right? It's not the same having someone just on the side and sharing stuff and being able to comment things and going to their screen and touching few things there. It's not the same. But then you have to set up ways to do it, like sharing screens and doing things and sending it and showing things on your computer and it's a matter of being like hyper connected. I think it's very, very important. Obviously, all my team needs to be available during the day in Slack and ready to jump on a call if we need to. So a good connection, internet connection, it's mandatory, that's for sure.
Yeah, and how many people are there? I mean, in your whole remote team? Just curious to know.
So because my configuration is a little bit straight. Well, I have in my studio here in Barcelona, I actually share the space with other freelancers that they are also like motion graphics professionals, mostly CG animators and 2D animators. So they are kind of like renting the space. And then if I have a project that I think they would be perfect for, I'm collaborating with them and they are part of the team. But they are, freelancing on their own, doing their own thing. And then Jag Alexandra is the executive producer at Clim Studio. He's in Portugal. So we work remotely and we see each other every day. And then just today, we signed a contract with an awesome CG designer and animator, Witol, that he's going to be also working remotely from Poland. And then the rest of the team is actually, we are expanding and shrinking the team depending on the project. I have a huge database of great curated professionals that then each time that I get a project, I contact the ones that I think they would be perfect for it. And then depending on their availability, obviously, then we set up the team and do the project. So we have a very, dynamic kind of structure. And for now, it's okay. Obviously, having people in-house, it's necessary because that way, obviously, is cheaper. And also it kind of like reflects it gives you the opportunity to actually do a studio environment and to learn from the people a little bit better and refining the ways we work together and, all of that. So we are working on this. I am working on this. Last year, I was just me organizing absolutely everything, directing and producing, setting up teams and doing all the work. So I learned like, hey, if I want to grow, I need people with me all the time. So that's why Jag, executive producer, is with me. And then Witol is going to start. And then probably we're going to grow with 2 or 3 people more depending on, the projects and clients and all of this. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a fine approach, Clem. And when you mentioned that you have like a database of curated, really nice creators, I mean,
Yeah.
are these people you found from internet, or you worked with them throughout, or like a mixed bag? And I mean, look, I'm asking on my behalf as well, because I'm in that space where I'm trying to create like a remote studio, and I would love to know your approach about it.
Totally. Yeah, it's a, mixed pot of everything. Mostly is people that I find on Instagram. So because all of us were all the all the day like this, right? And at the beginning, I was just scrolling. I was like, no, 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 that's not okay. And I started to save posts and organizing them. And then I started to approach people like, hey, are you freelancing? Yeah, I'm freelancing. Oh, cool. And then there I was like, okay, what's your daily rate? What's your, starting a conversation with all those people, and then brought them to my database, spreadsheet, Excel, whatever you want, and then started to put all the names there and organizing by category and skills and, all of that, contact details, the daily rate, their Instagram, whatever. And then I have now, I don't know, like 300 or 400 people there that when I have, sell animation, okay, sell animation, and they are all there. I'm trying now. I'm still in like Google Sheet, and now I'll probably go and find someone that automatize it,
Yeah.
make it automatic, basically, and bespoke for me. So, and also, I want now to start probably linking my website to this database and having the opportunity from the website of Clim Studio, being there, entering your details as freelancer, and then being part of the database. Obviously, I will still need to curate it because one of my, premises is, one of my rules is that quality needs to be always there. So, I am actually very, very focused on curating the people that is working with us. And that's very, very crucial. But yeah, that's the way I do it.
Yeah, it's like having a recipe for a great dish. You gotta have a nice
Exactly.
ingredient. Yeah,
It's very
that's
important.
what. Yeah,
And it's very difficult as well because, you are hiring people for just what you see on their websites. And, like sometimes you are acting a little bit like the agencies, right? Like agencies will never ask you to do like a TV ad for a car if you don't actually have a car on your profile, right? Or I don't know, like a cosmetic. You will never work for a cosmetic brand if you don't have a cosmetic brand already in your portfolio. So that's a little bit the same case. Like I see a lot of portfolios, a lot of people, and I am hiring them for the stuff that I see there. Like, oh, that's cool. That would be great for the project. So approaching them. But yeah, it's a bit unfair sometimes, I guess.
yeah.
But it's
I
the
think
way.
it's a gamble a lot of times. You got to work with them to really understand if they are capable. I mean, we can, of course, a great portfolio definitely matters. Shows a lot about a person. Clem, what were the difficulties that you faced, kicking off your own studio? Because again, when you're 22, you collaborated with your teacher and, got a gist of what happens in a creative business, how to talk to clients, things like that. Then you collaborated with your friends, people, designers. So what were the difficulty and maybe that point, okay, oh yeah, this is the time where you're not going to do this. And again, you can definitely talk about the difficulties you face and shit.
It was, I think, two major problems that I encountered. The first one being that when I was a solo director, one of my reps, Hornet in New York, At that time, because I was a solo director and I just quit with Sebas and Clim, I was very afraid of not being able to produce work, right? So I started to do a lot of different things and mix media and a little bit of illustration, a little bit of cell, a little bit of this and that. And my reps approached me saying like, Clim, you are going all over the place and your style is getting absolutely lost and we don't really know how to sell you. And that's very important, right? Because the reps are contacted by brands and agencies and they need to propose Clim as, the director for that piece. And my portfolio apparently for them was just not consistent enough. And I realized that I was focused on quantity instead of quality. So I changed that. And then I said to them, look, I think that I'm going to start not collaborating with just friends, but with great professionals that can help me out of, putting out their outstanding quality. That's one thing. And the other is like, I still want to be able to do different techniques and different styles, right? For me, as a graphic designer, for me, the style has been always an answer of what the client needs are, right? It's just, as a designer, you will be like, okay, you need, collage, or you need a very sleek geometric approach, or blah, 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 whatever. It's a solution. And I didn't want to lose the opportunity to actually explore techniques and different styles. So I said, okay, at that time I was called I Am Clim. My website was iamclim.com. So I said to them, like, look, I'm going to change my name and now it's going to be Clim Studio. That brought the opportunity to like, okay, now I have a house where I can build inside whatever I want. I don't care because I'm studio. I can do whatever I want, right? It's not just one person doing things, it's a house. So that was the first thing that, and for me it was difficult to actually take that decision and to change your name and to start. And also I felt a little bit like an imposter, like, oh, I'm calling myself Clim Studio, but I'm just me. But well, I own the studio. That's fine. It was a bit difficult. And then the second major thing that happened to me was recently, like a year ago. A big company, a big studio, internationally recognized, approached me saying that if I wanted to actually build their studio in Barcelona. They offered me a lot of money. They offered me a lot of possibilities to grow. They offered me a lot of possibilities to actually direct huge commercials. And that put me between, like, oh my God, what I want, what I really, really want, like to be part of a multinational studio that's gonna bring me a lot of opportunities, or do I really want to push Clim Studio? And I decided for the second, the second thing. And I truly believe that it's very difficult to build studio and to grow it if you are on your own. So I say no to this company. And I said to myself, okay, I need to make Clim Studio grow. How the hell am I going to do this? So I approached Hannah Shimizu, which is one of the partners at Hornet. And I asked her if she wanted to be my mentor. And she's like a crazy professional woman. Like, she's like super cool. She knows a lot about the business and the industry and how to run business and stuff. So we started to do these mentorships and just to talk about what I wanted to do, how I thought I should do that, what I need, what I didn't need, what is important, blah, blah, blah. And she helped me a lot to focus and direct, my energies towards one direction. And that's when I hired an executive producer, and now I'm hiring a CG designer, and I'm starting like very slowly but steadily making, Clim Studio a little bit bigger. Because, when I'm gonna have 50 years old, I don't really want to work that much. So I need people. No, it's not. It's not because of that. But I think that, when you have a personal company, like, a company that comes from your soul and from you, it's also very difficult to actually let it go and making it grow and making other people feeling part of it. I'm learning how to do this, and it's very difficult.
Well, I mean, you gotta take that hard call, I guess. I mean, it's when you say that someone wanted someone reached out to you and with so much opportunities. I was it like very difficult for you, or it took you like 2 seconds? Okay, I'm not.
Oh, it took me 6 months.
Wow, that's a really long time.
Yeah, it was very difficult because also you think things about like, okay, I'm gonna have, more money, but also I will need to respond to people from 9 till 6 and from Monday to Friday, and I'm gonna have to ask holiday. And what happened if one project, I don't want to do one project? Like now, for example, I'm like, no, I'm going on holiday. That's it. I'm going on holiday. Or something came up or, a project comes along and I don't really like it and I can say no. If you are working for someone else, you'll need to do whatever they tell you to. And for me, like losing all this freedom, I don't know. It's like,
That's a price you gotta pay, Clem.
I know.
But yeah, I think in the end, that's what matters. What I mean, in a long time, what really, why did you even start? I think I'm not so much experienced about, talking about this topic. But I think this is what I've realized, that you gotta, find a peace and really know what you really want.
I mean, it's also very difficult to find peace when you are, owning your own company. Because, for example, now I just finished one project for Samsung that was very difficult, like in terms of production and timeline, and was very complex. And now it's been like 2 or 3 weeks that I am not doing a project, and it's a bit scary, right? Because you don't really know, okay, yeah, there is a pitch here and a possibility there, a lead there, but you don't really know what's going to happen. And because I am a very small studio, right? Like big companies, they have their accounts, they have what's going to come in like 3 months, or they have already, like a schedule, or, but me, I do not have that for now. And that's very difficult. But I guess that happens to, mostly all the freelancers out there and people that they have small businesses. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's definitely sounds motivating to me, Clem. Again, I mean, you said that it took you 6 months to come to a decision. I mean, that's so yeah. I mean, I never can imagine myself being in that situation and taking decisions. A lot of people consider it. I mean, it's they forget what they really want. I mean, when something like this happens, some acquisition happens, things like that. So, I mean, are you also collaborating with the agencies who are doing work like you, or right now you established yourself that you automatically get project? In the beginning, was it like through your name that okay, Clim does great work, we can reach out to Clim Studio and give some work, or what were your approach to maybe reach out to people, meeting them?
Well, it works in different ways. For example, I have my representatives, my reps, production companies around the world that they are approached by agencies or direct clients. They represent a variety of different directors or studios. So that's a way I'm being approached from my reps saying like, hey, Clim, there is this pitch to do. Are you interested? Would you like to do it with us? Da, 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 da. Then another way is direct clients that come to me directly saying like, hey, we saw Clim Studio, I don't know, somewhere in the web, and we like this project that you did. Would you be interested on blah, blah, blah? And now I'm starting to work on actually approaching proactively clients that I want to work with. And I'm starting to put all these decks together, trying to find the correct emails to send, all those things. But yeah, those three are the main ways that, I get the projects. Not easy.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing also I've noticed that I've been I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and I get to record talk to a lot of people, and one thing I've noticed is that they have to, if they're kicking off their studio, they have to choose this path. Okay, are you a business person? Are you a person who's gonna do creative stuff? So at what stage you realize that okay, I gotta do this, or it's been going, or you maybe managed to find like okay, I'm also creating and I'm also doing that.
Well, it's because, the life like brought me towards that direction, and I'm kind of like divided, right? In the studio we have this joke that when I'm the producer, my name is Claudia. It's like, yeah, I'm being Claudia. I'm, sending emails and doing schedules and stuff. And then when I'm putting the hat of Clim, now I'm creating. But I actually realize, and that's something that actually I want to change. That's why, I have Jack in the studio that now he's taking care of the production of all the projects. Obviously, me, I'm supervising and I'm, part of it, but I'm not as involved as before. So that's something that I already apart a little bit. So that's good. But then I realized that once you are growing in this industry, you are kind of like designing less and less and less. Now I'm thinking about concepts, doing some sketches, finding some refs, and telling, the rest of the team, like, hey, what about this? What about that? I think you should be doing this. We should be doing that. So I'm designing less and less and less. And that's something that I don't really want to lose completely. And sometimes I have projects that I designed entirely on my own, in order to, to have a little bit of fresh air and design again. But that's something that definitely I want to continue doing, and being very careful, because I think that when you are designing less and less and less, somehow you lose, the contact with design, and then that can be reflected on your work. So that I don't want that to happen. So I need to be very careful.
Yeah. Clint, I've noticed that, whatever going on your website is just amazing. I personally, I have like a couple of favorites. So, I mean, when you have like a project, in your bucket, how do you constantly, keep that in mind that there's no skill gap among your team, because again, you're also trying to create something which is fresh. So what do you do when maybe there's some skill gap, or maybe you in advance only you reach out to right people? How do you fix?
What is a scale gap? What is this?
I mean, a lot of
Sorry.
people doesn't maybe gotta in order to maybe get that texture, for example, get that animation right. There sometimes there are creative difficulties, tool difficulties.
Okay.
I've talked to a number of founders who definitely feels this skill gap among their team. How do you kind of close that gap and make sure that okay, what we are creating shouldn't be tool oriented,
Well, it's difficult when when you find difficulties along the way. Obviously, you need to sort them out, and these can be sometimes more time, but most of the time you don't have the time. So that means probably more resources, more people, more, more hands-on helping. So if something doesn't really work, then we need to change something on the team, and you need to put maybe more people on the team, or maybe doing yourself, So you just need to make it happen. Most of the time, this translates to spending more money. If there is, maybe, I fuck up with the production, and it's like, oh shit, I thought that something that could be done in a week, that's not gonna happen. We actually needed 2 weeks. So instead of having the 2 weeks, you put two people doing this, right? You put more effort on crafting whatever you want to craft. And sometimes you just need to accept that you need to compromise. And maybe, sometimes, for example, with one of my collaborators, Edgar Ferrer, I was about like, oh, we could do this and that. And he was like, Clim, you would need like 3 weeks to do this. It's like, oh, okay, so tell me what we can do. We could do this, we could do that, and then you kind of like find a solution that it's like, it's okay. It's not the dream, but it's fine. It does the job. And at the end of the day, you just need to deliver, right? You just need to produce things. So you definitely need to compromise a lot of your ideas and try to have the best result with the time that you've been given. So it's like a matter of, balancing things.
Yeah, as we say that, one of the biggest creative hurdle is that they should know when to stop, right? Because you can keep on going on, but you gotta,
Definitely.
make that stop there.
Definitely. Now, for example, we were doing a case study for the Samsung project, and the case study itself, it was an animation with mobile phones and stuff. We did the screensaver for the phone. But I didn't want to actually show the screensaver on my website, just, like a vertical video and that's it. I wanted to have a case study video with some animations and transitions and blah, blah, blah. And because it was an internal thing, it took me ages, because you are like, no, can we do that? Can we do this? Actually, I did the edit and, the kind of like the animating the things in After Effects. And it took me, like probably 2.5 weeks or something that could be done like in 4 days if it would be for someone else, Anyway, it's
And
difficult.
what are just curious about the tools setting? I mean, is it the bunch of you have like a set of tools that that you work around? You have like a system, okay?
Personally, not really. Obviously, I am not. Somehow my, Clim Studio's work now is very CG focused. Although we do like 2D and cell and, mixed media projects and live action as well a little bit. But the majority of the projects are done in CG lately. And I am not a CG designer, and I am not an animator. So obviously we work always with Cinema 4D, Redshift, After Effects, all these kind of softwares that everyone is using. But because I am not the one doing it, I cannot really answer that question.
Yeah, that's fine. So takes us to the last question. What's the future for Clim Studio?
I don't know, like, because the future, I think, is looking very, very uncertain for everyone right now. With the inflation and wars here and there, and the climate change and all of that, that's kind of like having an impact on the industry, that's for sure. This is saying like there is a huge crisis coming in. This kind of like the beginning of the year has been slow. A lot of big brands are like cutting a lot of resources. So we don't really know, but out of, this gray idea. I think it's about playing with new technology. That's for sure. That's something that I want to do. I've been sneaking around mid-journey and doing things, which is at the same time exciting and terrifying, for all what will happen, things or because of that. Losing a lot of jobs and things like this. It's still scary, but I think it depends on how we use it and how we learn to use this for our advantage. And I would like to explore that. I also would love to explore a little bit more of I bought myself an Oculus. So I want to start playing around and doing things, with virtual reality. And we'll see. I think that it's time for experimentation. It's time to grow. It's time to welcome new people at the studio to try to figure out new ways to work together and probably do a personal project soon. And see what happens with the existing clients and the new that can come. So we'll see. Future is the future. That's why it's intriguing and exciting. You never know, right? I'll keep going, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right, Clim. That sounds like a great attitude. And again, AI is here to stay, so we got to find our peace with that.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Yeah, we
definitely.
gotta. Yeah. Again, it came out to be a really inspiring chat, Clim. And thanks again, for your time. And it was a great chat.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you.